because I know every one of you have been just begging me to do a video on slot head screwdrivers. Here it is. There is actually some thought to these things. Now, the vast majority of screws you're going to deal with are not going to be slot head anymore. Some of the old electrical stuff still is, but these things tend to be used more as chisels and screwdrivers sometimes. But we're going to look at it. I'm going to go over a few of these things. Here's a big old ugly boy I got from the Air Force about 1,000,000 years ago. This is top quality Pittsburgh free from Harbor Freight. This is a multi-tip driver from Greenlee. I actually like that thing. Greenlee's pretty cheap stuff and could be a lot better, but I like that driver for general use because I got so many different bits for it, and they're simple. I don't lose so many of them. Here's a Klein electrician screwdriver, slot head. This one is a Husky, and I like this thing. It's a reversible ratcheting screwdriver, and of course you can use any bit you want in it. This one, I really like this little screwdriver. It's not that high a quality, but it's the right size for a lot of stuff I do, so I use it. Here's another one, kind of a mid-sized thing from Craftsman. This one, I have no idea who made this thing, but I sure like this. You can actually take this bit out and put other bits in it. I usually don't, but this is pretty high quality. There is a way to use a slot head screwdriver and not screw up the slot. Doesn't mean you can always do it, but there is a way to do it that's best. So first, let's take a look at these drivers. This big old boy, when you compare these two, you can see that shank from here to here is longer. This one's been ground down, probably on a grinder, because they probably messed up the tip using it for a chisel or something like that. Well, that actually makes this a very poor screwdriver. You can see this one was probably damaged. Someone ground it off to get the tip right again. The problem with this is it, number one, makes the slot there wider so it doesn't fit a lot of screws, and you almost never, when you grind this thing, you almost never get it at the right angle. It always has one side higher than the other, lower than the other, and so it'll slip out of the slots. This one, I don't know that I'd trust this thing in any kind of hard use, because it's probably just going to slip out of the slot. Now this one, pretty good driver. It's smaller than that one, obviously, but it's a pretty good driver. Now, this one here, surprisingly, I haven't broken this thing yet. You get these free from Harbor Freight. I like the size of it because it's kind of like this one, but I think I had one of these before and I broke it, busted it, something, I don't know. The Greenlee, you know, it's got the removable tips, and that's nice. And Klein makes one like this too, probably a way better tool. And these tips are actually better than this type of screwdriver because they use materials that they can use in these tips. They're more suitable for driving screws than something like this. I mean, this is going to cost the manufacturer quite a bit more to make this whole driver. Just making this driver, not much. And of course, the Klein is just a standard screwdriver. This one here has a bit in it, and of course these bits can be made so that they're very suitable for removing screws. And then this is a standard, and this one here is cut off too, and it's fairly close, but it's still not going to work very good. It's going to, I'm not sure you should even really do this, grind these things off, because I don't think it's helpful. Now, I run a screw in here really hard. Okay, to remove this screw, you've actually got one chance to remove it. And I'm going to use this driver because I think it's the best for it. Now you can use shorties. I don't have any shorties here, but shorties aren't all that good. because it's hard to get the angle right on them, and you have actually more torque with this type of screwdriver. You might say you wouldn't have, but you do. You have more torque. Now it's a little bit small for the screw, but this one here, it actually, I guess I can kind of get it in there, but I'm not sure this thing would pull it. I think it'll probably screw up the slot. So I'm going to use this one here. So how do you do this? You got one chance to do this and make it right. Get it as centered as you can and get this screwdriver as vertical as you can make it. And then you're going to push down very hard on this thing. The harder you push down, the better chance you have of making this thing work. Because if you slip out of that slot, you will have problems. Then it becomes much harder. So let's see what happens. When you first get it, don't give up and take the weight off of it. Keep putting it. Okay, now that screwdriver, that screw is going to be removable. It's coming out. Okay, if I had my screwdriver angled a little bit too far this way, it's going to slide out of that slot. When it does, it's going to chew away the slot, and so it's going to be harder yet to get. So when I say you have one chance to get this done, that's what I mean. When you see one you think is going to be hard to get out, you get that pressure way heavy on it, and you can get it turned. If you break your screwdriver, when you do that, your screwdriver isn't so good. But that's how to get a slot screw loose. Now you can put lubricants and all that stuff on them, but that doesn't always help. I used to work in the RV industry, and a lot of the stoves and stuff had these slots in it, and trying to get those things apart, you had to be really careful, because once you screwed up that slot, then you got all sorts of problems trying to get it off. You can usually get it off if you work hard enough, but this is the fastest and easiest way to get a slot head screw out when it's tight, rusted, something like that. So slot head screwdriver, there is a way to properly use it. And like I say, if you get these things where they're chewed up on the ends, probably because you used them for a chisel, the screwdriver really isn't viable anymore. It's not much of a screwdriver, and it'll end up like this thing, where it's not really very useful. Anyway, that's how to use a slot head screwdriver.